All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We want to thank you all sincerely for being here. The Arch at Rensselaer family presentation and reception, right? So from 5 to 6, we're going to be doing some in-depth discussion. We're going to do a little overview. We are going to talk to our panelists that are here, and we also want to have a chance for a little Q&A. It was so interesting. One of our architecture students, where is she? There she is. She's like, Director Felder, are you going to make sure we talk about architecture too? Right? So I kind of want to get a sense of our students in the room and our families in the room to know where you all have traveled from. I know some of us have come from Boston, from Delaware. I heard Cali in the back. So first I want to have a chance to kind of give our students some spotlight here to see where you all are. So all of the students who are first-year students, raise your hands. All right, first year at RPI, first semester at RPI, right? Awesome, awesome. Okay, hands down. How many sophomores do we have in the audience? Raise them high. You guys, I hope you're not raising your hands like this in class. Raise them high. High, there you go. Okay, so sophomores, all right, let's see, juniors. Do we have any juniors? Jaden, our Arch ambassador, so she's gonna give you guys some good information. She's actually on our panel today and is currently on her semester way, so that'll be great. And our seniors are actually roaming around all over the place. I actually just spoke with one of our student leaders. She's a senior over in the student union, and they have a lot planned for you all, so they're actually a part of Family Weekend as well. So I am Jade Felder. I am Director of the Arch and Student Transitions here at RPI. I came to RPI about 8 years ago. I started as an undergraduate class dean, which means I kind of followed a cohort from the time they entered into their next year, And as experiential learning has kind of taken on a full wave, we've transitioned into a newer portfolio called Student Transitions, where we get students ready for experiential learning outside of the classroom, but making it co-curricular, making it adjacent to pedagogy, making it adjacent to what our faculty are teaching in the classroom, reinforcing it outside the classroom, and making sure our students are ready. Come on down, parents, there's some seats right in here. Making sure our students are ready to take on everything that is required of them as a STEM student at RPI. So what's become more essential as we kind of think about careers, students need to have real world experience before they leave their undergraduate career. And really that's what the experiential learning opportunity provides our students at RPI. So I'm gonna take you through a quick overview first. Then we are gonna hear from our panelists. I'm going to be introducing each one of them so you know who they are. And we are also going to do a little bit of a Q&A. But first, I'd like to introduce the Vice President for Student Life, who is going to give us some opening remarks and officially welcome you to the Arch at Rensselaer Family Weekend presentation. Dr. Konworski?
Well, first of all, I just want to welcome you to campus or back to campus. And we want to say to our students, congratulations on getting to this far. We're kind of 8-9 weeks in. I know this has been a grind, but your students, this is the first time you've seen them in person, but they seem like they're looking well, maybe a little tired, but they've been doing exceptional work. So I just want to kind of recognize the hard work that they've done. And thank you as parents for coming back or coming to campus. Some of you, this is really your first time back, and it's been an exciting fall. You know, we just launched the start of our bicentennial, so you'll see a little bit of the bicentennial 200 swag around. We tried to do our best on the weather, so we did our best to try to bring a combination of nice weather and good leaf peeping. So you'll have to let us know how that goes. Put that in your evaluation on the last day. I don't want to steal his thunder, but you'll have a great opportunity to hear from Dr. Schmidt tomorrow. And I think the upward trajectory of the Institute it's really poised to take off. And as he talks about often, it's like a rocket ready to launch. And there's probably no better analogy than what we're putting into the talented and skilled students that are among us. So what your students are doing, what they're kind of synthesizing and digesting from their courses, they're going to go off in the arches at really that opportunity. They're going to put their knowledge into action. I also bring you greetings on behalf of Rebecca Dorge, who's our new provost, and you'll meet Rebecca at some point during the weekend. But we've been working closely with Rebecca as we think about how do we continue to enhance the Arch. And so you'll have a chance to hear, as Jade mentioned today, you'll hear directly about the program, what makes the program unique, and how you as students, I'll speak to you specifically, are going to choose the pathway that's right for you, right? The Arch is designed to help you follow your passion, right? If you want to do research, you want to do research abroad, you want to co-op, you want to do an internship, you want to design something yourself, you want to take more courses, you want to take courses at another institution, you want to work with a different faculty member. Our goal is to give you a personalized kind of individual approach to support your goals and aspirations. And that will hopefully help you as students to achieve your academic aspirations and your personal and professional goals. And you're going to hear a lot about that, and there's probably nobody better to do that than Jaden from a student perspective. But you're also going to hear from our faculty. How do the faculty work to support our students, specifically during the Arch summer courses, but also just in the work that they do as advising and mentoring our students into their career and profession. The other thing I want to mention, I always mention this to students, is, I always mention this when I talk to parents, is you are a force multiplier for us. So you all work in organizations, nonprofits, government, industry, whatever field you're in, and you can open doors for us to that field. So what I would encourage you is, your son or daughter might not want to work as an intern in your organization, but their roommate might, or their friend might, or the fraternity or sorority member might. And our goal is to sort of tap into that extensive parent market, parent network, and help our students find those best opportunities. So if you're a person who can put us in touch with a human resource manager or talent acquisition manager, let us know. Tonight, I would say let Jade know after the session when we do the networking. Give us a business card, give us an email address, but we will use that to connect with you. So I will just say it's really an honor to be with you today. We look forward to seeing you over the next couple days. Today's a little bit more business because we're doing classes and then workshops. Tomorrow and Saturday are a little more fun. So we want you to have get a little bit of the side of the Rensselaer student experience. They work really hard, but they also have a little bit of social life too. So you'll have a chance to do some socializing, go to some of the athletic competitions, see some of our student performances and student events on campus. With that, I'm going to ask you to give a round of applause to both our panel and to Jade Felder, who's going to facilitate the rest of the evening. So, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. K. Okay, so let's jump in. We still have some seats. If parents want to come down, there's some one seats or two seats here and there. But I am going to get us started with a quick overview of what we can think of when we're talking about the Arch at Rensselaer. Okay? So, to start, what exactly do we mean when we say experiential learning? Experiential learning is really where our students are able to prepare themselves for life beyond Rensselaer. And the way we kind of couched it is really trying to meet the needs of the 21st century. And since we've been in a post-pandemic landscape, that's been much more ever-present for our students, for our faculty, for the away experiences that students will have. And so our goal is to ensure that they have a robust experience on campus. If we were to take an engineering class, for example, a lot of our engineers have LITEC, embedded control, intro to engineering design. But what does that actually mean to then take that course and apply it working as an engineer at IBM? Or working at Regeneron? How do you take what you're learning, the theory, and apply that to the field that you're going into? So that's really the goal of experiential learning. And so really, it affects the sophomore year the most because that's where all of your preparation is really beginning. So all of the sophomores in the room that kind of raise their hand like, I'm in that year right now, all of the preparation begins there. So when we think about the trajectory of a 4-year matriculation. First year, you're getting acclimated to the university. You're understanding where your classes are, what your professor expectations are, what sort of work ethic you need, how to ask for help, right? Every student that gets into RPI is a very, very high achieving student. And so what does it look like to ask for help? What does it look like to challenge yourself? What does it look like to take care of yourself? So the first year is really about getting in on the ground floor. Once you get to the sophomore year, now we have to start thinking about the trajectory that you're going to be on in your career. So the sophomore year, fall, spring, and summer. Those are the 3 terms that students are going to be doing. So all the students that are in their sophomore year right now, they're in their sophomore fall, okay? Then they're gonna move to their spring term where they're gonna make selections. Am I gonna take an away semester in the fall, the spring? Do I have a cool opportunity for the summer where I actually need to take that opportunity in the summer, right? So those are the kind of discussions that they're going to begin to have with their faculty advisors and their hubs about what's going to work best for them as a student. Junior year is traditionally where all the students are on away term, whether that's in the fall or the spring, if they did not take an opportunity in that summer term, as opposed to their summer courses. Senior year is where students are either preparing for graduation, going into co-terminal study, or perhaps a BS PhD program, but that's where a student is trying to determine what are my next steps beyond my undergraduate career. And so we've kind of mapped out all 4 years so that students understand it's really a path that you create for yourself with a network of support in experiential learning, but also in your academic school. So all of our students who are with us here in the summer, they are in the summer with us on campus, and we are going to talk a lot about what happens in the summer and the pedagogy and the student experience, and we're also going to dig into the semester away piece as well. So this is a sample schedule of what an engineer would take. But for a science student, this could look a little different. So everyone at RPI, we have a lot of acronyms. But so thermals and fluids 2, we call it TF2. We have electronics and Haas, that would be an elective course. You have elements of mechanical design. And so one of the things that we like for folks to notice about the summer is that all of our students have a common lunch period, okay? And that common lunch period happens so that we have that cohort development and reinforcement of all the juniors that are on campus with us. And on Wednesday is really a time where students have downtime. Because the summer is 12 weeks, and over the time that the Arch has been in full implementation, we have worked to ensure that more of the classes reflect what the students need. And so every single summer, we have a pre and post assessment where we really like to get our students' feedback on what we need to continually do to ensure that they're being supported in the summer. So this is just a sample schedule of one student, but this could look very different for another that would be with us on campus. And so giving you a glimpse of how we like to kick off the summer with our students is a quick video culminated of our president, our students, the class, the summer 23 students that were here with us on campus, just to show you a little bit of the celebratory piece of how we like to kick off the summer.
So welcome to the President's house, but I like to think of it as the people's house. And part of the purpose really is I hope that everybody can say that at least once they were at the President's house at RPI.
You knock on the door of the dean's office and you come to me and you're passionate and you say, I want to solve the energy problem. I want to discover the next molecule. And I just love this idealism in you to try to change the world.
What really helped me were the away semesters. I worked at Miami, Ohio, and I worked at Notre Dame. That really set me up to learn about what life was like as a scientist.
As you can see, we have a very active president, and he is all throughout. So this is our most recent video from summer 2023. And so really what we like to do is kick off the summer with community-wide event, which is where you get all the student support and resources under one umbrella. So every single office that is represented on our summer campus is at this event. And so students are receiving their hub advising support, they're receiving student health and wellness, counseling services, everything that would maximize what they're doing in the summer and how they can prepare for their courses. So the main thing is to really kick off the summer to Rensselaer and what students can expect in the 12 weeks to come. And so we have center of gravity, which is what happens when our students are meeting on a weekly basis for academic support and student engagement. So what do we mean by that? So we have peer tutoring that happens, we have career counseling that happens. I heard some of my sophomores in the audience say they hadn't just started looking for their career opportunity yet. And so a really important aspect of being in the sophomore year is starting early and keeping that going as often as you possibly can. So that's just really highlighting the engagement that we see in the summer term and what students can expect if they are going to be here with us on campus. Now, one of the most important things most of the parents and most of the students ask me about is planning for semester away. Okay? And the semester away is something that happens in fall, in spring, traditionally, but also in the summer. And so we have provided students with the opportunity to pursue the opportunity when it comes and for the time that it is going to be available to the students. So when we think about planning for semester away, I want everyone to kind of zero in on this, right? Because this is the importance of experiential learning. So we have three areas, three different subsets that students can really think about when they're thinking about what do I want to do for experiential learning degree requirement, right? If this is required for all students at Rensselaer, how do I want to spend my time? And so if we think about internships and co-ops, that is a very, very popular option amongst our students. If we think about research, a lot of our students who are looking to go further into academia, further into those sorts of explorations, those are the kind of opportunities we want them to have, whether that's in the summer, fall, or spring. Studying at another institution would be anything where a student could be taking up a course at NYU that isn't adjacent to STEM. They could be pursuing something completely outside of their curricular goals. And self-design. We have a lot of students who are in an entrepreneurial path. We have a lot of students who are looking at tech startups. We have a lot of students who pursue opportunities in tech in Silicon Valley. And so we want to give students the opportunity to sort of build what their away experience is going to look like. And so studying abroad / international experience is the final one. And that is where we have affiliated programs that are in, whether it's Italy or Germany or China, there's a lot of different opportunities students can have to study in another country. And so these are all of the types of opportunities a student can pursue, and they will choose one of them for their semester away experience. So the CCPD is an acronym for our Center for Career and Professional Development. The Office of Undergraduate Education is where a lot of our research is done and studying at another institution, and our Office of International Programs. So these are kind of the avenues that a student would go down to start pursuing those paths. And I spoke to a few students earlier, and they're thinking of internships and co-ops. So I wanted to plug our Career Center model so that everyone has a look at what they provide. So we have employer relations in our Career Center. We have career development, and we have experiential learning. And so our employer relations team is what Dr. Konworski alluded to earlier, where we have premier connections with different employers in Handshake that are specifically geared toward getting our students into positions. And so we typically have all of our sophomore students build their Handshake profile as soon as they come to their sophomore year. So one of the important sort of milestones, I'd call it, is when students reach Arch Discovery Day in their sophomore year. You're doing a Handshake profile, which is very similar if some of you are familiar with LinkedIn, or if you're familiar with job boards, if you're familiar with Indeed. Handshake has the ability to be central to the institution your student attends. That's a little bit of the difference, as opposed to just LinkedIn, that's a general board, Indeed, that's a general board. So when we talk about employer relations, there are a wealth of opportunities that students can pursue. We also have the statistics of every single year available on our career development website that shows you where our graduates are going 6 months after graduation, where they're pursuing their internships and co-ops currently. And so what happens is when a student comes into the Career Center, we have a career counselor for every single school. So the School of Science has a career counselor, the School of Engineering has a career counselor, and so on. Haas, Lally, Architecture. And so if you are in need of this kind of resource, you have to be connected to employer relations. The career development piece is really helping our students hone their skills around interviewing, resume. What is the vernacular that Amazon is looking for versus what an IBM is looking for? How do I speak to an employer if I have to do an interview where I'm solving a calculus equation? How do I give a 30-second pitch? How do I determine what opportunities I want to work for, and how do I convey that I'm actually a good candidate for this kind of role? That's what career development looks at. And then the experiential learning piece is what sort of networking opportunities do we plug our students into on campus? We just had the NSBE and SHEP Career Fair, which is something that's student-led. And in the spring, we will have a spring career fair that is hosted by our Center for Career and Professional Development. So we have these three teams in that business model so that all of our students receive the support that they can. And so our Director of Career Services couldn't be here today. He had a family emergency, but the takeaways he wanted to ensure you all have is take the experience seriously and be intentional about your goals. And this is for our students. Understand that this is a personal journey that will give you as much back as you put into it. Build and maintain your handshake profile, and we will definitely talk more about that. Meet with your career counselor. They are willing, ready, and available. Attend career-related events, whether that's a fair, whether that's information sessions, and be prepared to respond. Sometimes students don't have the words to say back to an employer when they're saying, I'm interested in you to come work here at Tesla with us. Or helping them navigate, well, what happens if I have to sign an NDA? What happens, a lot of our students who go to Tesla have to do that. So what happens when I have to negotiate what I'm being paid versus what another student is being paid, right? That's why it's important for our students to be connected to the Career Center so that they have a guidance in mapping out that kind of process. And example companies that are current Arch opportunities that students are working in. We've had students in Bermuda. Of course, everyone knows we send students to NASA. Huntsville, Alabama, they have a base there that we absolutely love. BMW, the Humane Society, Northrop and Grumman. We also have Procter & Gamble. There's a lot of different companies that you all are probably familiar with, so no need to name drop. But the main thing is, how do we make sure that you all get started? And so on the Arch website, which if you loaded it up now, it would probably come up for you here. On the Arch website, you will see summer here, semester away opportunities, Arch planning and registration, news and events. Any of those directions will give you the information that you need. And the Arch at rpi.edu is something that we could also plug you into so that you all have the information readily available. Now, the final thing I want to walk you through is the one-pager you have in your folders. This one. Okay. So the data that you're seeing on this one-pager is actually as relevant as our last 2 years. We all know that we just came from a pandemic, so that's something that we are all recovering from. But on the front page, you're going to see what's happening with the summer experience at RPI. What happens in the classrooms? What are students saying? What are the community building activities? What is the average GPA in the term? What's Arch Discovery Day? What's Arch Planning? Right, so those are all the things that happen in the summer. On the back of it, these are our most recent students, seniors, specs for what our students are being paid, right? So if you are an architecture major, where is she? There she is. Hi. Okay, so architecture majors. We have engineering majors, business, Haas, science, ITWS, which is a part of the School of Science, but they have their own sort of standard there. So when we think about what's happening, 93% of our students have domestic opportunities, and 6.7% went international. And so these stats change from cohort to cohort. from year to year. Some may rise, some may fall in terms of domestic versus international. So these are the kinds of questions that I want you to start asking your student. Do you want to be domestic? Do you want to go international? Do you want to work in industry? Do you want to work in a lab? Do you want to do research, right? So those are the kind of things that I want us to be prepared to discuss when we start to have these career counselor conversations, but also when they're having academic advising conversations. And so once you start with the ARCH website, that'll take you to every other resource that you're going to need for your students' experiential learning. And so with that, I want to kind of give our panelists a more informal perspective of giving you what the experience is on campus and hear from our student to learn about what happens during the semester away, a more realistic look at the possible challenges, the possible highlights, the benefits, right, the drawbacks, and thinking about what's going to be best for my student. Are you ready to do your summer classes? Are you ready for your semester away? You all are in good shape because you're in your sophomore year, so you are not behind. You're actually on time. But to all the first-year students in the room, I would say you can start planning now. All of the sophomore students in the room, your time will be coming up in the next semester. And so with that, I want to move us into the panel Q&A session, and I am going to start with introducing our wonderful panelists. Okay, and let's welcome them with a round of applause as we introduce each. Starting with Dr. Azita Hirsa, PhD, a teaching professor at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute School of Engineering, Industrial Systems Engineering Department. She teaches courses in management of engineering and technology, ethics of modeling, engineering ethics, and professional development, technical issues and solutions. She is the chair of the ethics division at the American Society of Engineering Education and the webinar host of Online Ethics Center for Engineering and Science. Welcome, Dr. Azita Hirsa. We also have Dr. Jonathan Stetler with us from Science. He earned his PhD in biology from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, where he studied a long-term effects of environmental changes and aquatic ecosystems. He is currently a lecturer in the Department of Biological Sciences, where he teaches data-intensive courses such as biostatistics and the new computational biology lab. His instructional approach emphasizes fostering collaborations among students with diverse backgrounds, bridging biology majors and other majors who traditionally have more experience with computer programming. This past summer, he offered a new experiential learning field biology course for our students, where they characterize the health of a local aquatic ecosystem. Dr. Stetler? We also have a student with us who is one of our former ARCH ambassadors for summer 2023, Jaden, who is an environmental engineering student who is currently on her ARCH away. Jaden is a member of the class of 2025 and is currently participating in an internship in Vermont that allows her to follow her passions for protecting the quality of drinking water in communities. Jaden? And to give you some financial perspective, our director of the Office of Financial Aid, Martin Daniels, has been at RPI, and he's been our director of financial aid since 2017. Since then, he and his team have worked to improve process efficiency in a manner that allows to spend more time with students than needed. He represents OFA on multiple campus work groups, including our ARCH Operations Committee. Come on down, Marty. Okay, and me. I'm going to facilitate, get some good answers here. Okay, all right, so let's dig in. I think I'm going to start with our faculty, of course, to really kind of dig into from the science perspective and the engineering perspective. Tell me, what is the difference in summer term in terms of the pedagogy and what students can expect for your classes?
So, hi everyone, it's great to see you all. Thank you for being here. So I've been a faculty since 2018, and as soon as they said, do you want to teach in the summer, I said absolutely. So there are quite a few reasons. One of which is that the size of the classes are actually smaller, so you get to work with students one-on-one. You get to engage with them one-on-one. There are things that you can do in the summer. First of all, the weather's nicer, so it's not freezing cold outside. So you can take the class outside and engage with students there. We also are a bit more creative in the ways that we engage with each other. So our classes are a lot more, I suppose, informal, you can say. So yeah, those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Sadler, what about you?
I would say the smaller class size is probably the best thing, and not only that, I usually get help from a graduate teaching assistant in classes I normally wouldn't have. So now we're bringing the ratio from 1 to 30 down to 1 to 20 plus a TA. So in these really technical classes, you can get help there. The other thing that we have in biology is a lot of times our students need just 1 or 2 credits here or there to satisfy a degree requirement. And so we've really embraced that to offer new courses. The field biology class that I teach was new, but one that's even probably cooler that my colleague does is popular science fiction. So you get these classes, you only meet once a week for 2 or 3 hours, and it's kind of a nice break from the more serious classes that you have, but you're still learning a new skill or you're thinking in a different way.
Awesome. And so another question that we typically have in the summer term for the style, which is 12 weeks versus a typical semester of 14 weeks. How does that change in terms of what is taught and how students engage with the work? We know that some students fare better in the fall or spring where they have longer time periods, right? So how do you meet that dissonance of both, right? That's always an important question from students' parents.
So I have to tell you something, that I'm going to divulge this thing. When I was an undergraduate student, and I actually went to RPI, when I was an undergraduate student, one of the requirements was that you had to take this course that was very difficult. So I was very strategic about it. I thought to myself, if I take it in the summer, the professor won't care as much, so we'll get done with it faster. And I also decided that I was going to take it in a style where there actually could be this one-on-one help. So as far as, ask me the question again, how do we engage differently?
Yeah, how
do
is
we
it
do
different?
things
12,
differently?
14 weeks is a very condensed schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 12 weeks, we have to pretty much cover the work that we cover during the entire semester. So the way I think we do it is by being engaged, by having more of an interactive classroom where we get to experience things rather than just kind of have this lecture style. We get moving in the classroom. We get to go out on field trips. We get to invite people, and as you heard earlier, I belong to the ethics committee at the American Society of Engineering Ethics, and I'm a webinar host. So one of the things that I do is try to bridge the gap between industry and academia. So summertime is a time that a lot of folks have some time to come and visit with us. So just this last summer, we had the fortune of having one of our trustees who was an executive, a high-level executive at Johnson & Johnson. So he came and he sat with our students. He actually came to the classroom, and we invited the rest of the community. So they had the opportunity to engage with him. We have had executives from United Airlines, and we actually have one of our trustees that's going to come and visit us again. So they've enjoyed the experience so much so that they're willing to come back. We've had folks from Lockheed Martin. So one of the things that I do is we have this ethics competition at Lockheed Martin for our students that happens in February. And in the summertime, the students that are involved, become engaged in these kinds of things. So they get to meet folks from Lockheed Martin that come to class and talk about not just kind of selling their product as a recruitment thing, but really talking about what it means to work for a place like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon as opposed to working for Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson. So from an ethical perspective, what does that feel like? What does it look like? So our students get to really develop this sort of professional identity in the summer in ways that we don't necessarily have the opportunity, yet I think as faculty, we try to do whatever we can to make it engaging.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think I always say to my students is think about sort of this future backwards. Where do you want to be? And I do this for myself. I said, where do you want to be at the end of the day? And now how do I manage my time backwards to, 7 a.m.? Where do you want to be at the end of the week? Where do you want to be at the end of the semester, at the end of summer? So 12 weeks, this is what we need to do. So now how do we break that time and how do we make it as efficient, as effective, and as enjoyable for all of us? Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Dr. Settler, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys just did this summer? They presented at the Arch Culminating event, but just give us a glimpse into what that was like.
So probably the best thing about the Arch is that we get to go on field trips. That's sponsored by the school, so the students don't have to worry about anything. Probably 3 or 4 years in a row now, I've taken students up to Lake George. And up there, we have a great facility, the Darren Freshwater Institute, and anyone can come, whether you're an environmental science major, biology, engineering, computer science, math, it does not matter, you're welcome to come. And the morning, I'll make sure the weather's nice, and we'll go out for a boat trip. We'll visit some of the live research stations that are actually collecting data right while we're there. Then we'll go to the lab and we'll meet with IBM scientists, we'll meet with graduate students, we'll meet with experts in machine learning, and our data visualization lab we have up there. And then we can see what they're doing. We can learn what their life is like as a scientist. That's their workplace every day, that's their office, right, Lake George. They're not all ecologists, they're not all computer scientists. They have all different types of backgrounds. Some are artists, some are engineers, whatever you name it, there's someone up there thinking about that.
Dr. Settler, we have a chemist, a sophomore chemist, chemistry major. Raise your hand. Okay, he's there.
Yeah, so we do a lot of chemistry up there. So you can get your hands wet, no pun intended, with the biology and chemistry there. And not only do you meet the experts, you meet the students that are training there. So I would say Lake George, the Freshwater Institute, really took advantage of the Arch situation where they can bring students from campus up there to do research full time. So on this trip, you get to meet with them. You get to learn about what they're doing, how their Arch experience is going now, and what you need to do to be in a similar position. So I'd say the field trips are the best part.
Awesome, thank you. So before we get to the operational pieces, the finance and the semester way, I know we want to dig into questions as well. I want Jaden to kind of tell us how you started looking for your semester way, how you landed it. You're there now, right? So walk us through your process as an environmental engineer.
So first I started looking on Handshake for opportunities, and I kind of started expanding onto LinkedIn and what's the other one? Indeed.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So I did different searches, and I was looking at different companies, and I also went to the CCPD for help in revising my cover letter. I applied to a lot of places on Handshake for like fall experiences, and the CCPD told me that I should do some prospecting where I email companies specifically that don't have any opportunities listed on their website for fall and just contact them directly and see if they would possibly hire me, which is how I got my internship at MSK Engineers in Bennington.
And tell us what you're doing in Vermont now. What's your day-to-day like?
So I'm working with lead service line identification and replacement projects. So I've been going door to door in Rutland, Vermont, and also helping in Bennington with their projects, witnessing them like actually take the pipes out of the ground and replace them. And I've also been looking and doing scratch tests as well as other tests to see which ones are lead or copper.
Yeah. Okay, so for the students in the audience, tell us what's the most challenging part of getting your semester away secured?
I guess it's finding an opportunity.
The search.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
the search is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us what's the most rewarding part of your day when you're at your experience?
Well, I don't know.
Not done yet?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure as the students start to have questions, they'll kind of chime in there. So I want to kind of switch us over to the operational piece and how to get prepared. And a big question that we have from parents and students is finances, whether it's how we pay in the summer, how we do financial aid, what students have, what they don't have, which is why we have the expert here. So Marty, tell us a little bit about how we go ahead and award our students, the FAFSA process, getting them ready for summer or semester away, and how that works for our students.
Sure, I'll be glad to, and hopefully everybody can hear me okay. A very basic way to remember it is that when your student is on campus taking classes, you're charged tuition, and when they're in the halls, you're charged for room and board. And when your student is paying tuition and or room and board, that's when we apply the aid to that semester. There's no charges for tuition or room and board for the away semester. So it's very easy concept to kind of look at how your award is established this year and across 2 semesters and understand that it'll still be 2 semesters, but one is going to be the summer. And then the other will peg to when your student is going to be back on campus, whether it's the fall or spring. And we have administrative processes linking between departments so that your student doesn't have to necessarily go to every office and tell everybody if they have a change. We all link through reports and we have things match up, okay? Given that there can be some movement in the students, it's not always perfect, but we get there. And most students, if you start out like Jalen, you find a good opportunity and you're here for the summer and your away is set up and you're good to go, it's pretty smooth. It really runs like a typical year. So mechanically, hopefully you have a smooth experience. I know one of the things that Jade and I like to talk about for my office is marches for Arch, okay? It's easy for me to remember, it's easy for you to remember, and my staff key to it every year. And what that means for us is we want to be processing your Summer Arch Awards during the month of March so that the aid will show on your bill in April for the summer when the bill's due in May, okay? So for us, Marches for Arch. For you, you can help us out this year in particular. It looks like the FAFSA is delayed at least until the middle of December. And so just keep in mind, by the end of January, have your FAFSA filed, and then that'll be enough time for us to receive your record and get things turned around in Marches for Arch. And so just keep that theme in mind. Remember, we'll give you updates when the FAFSA is available, and file by the end of January, and you should be fine from that perspective.
Thank you for that. And so I want to make sure that I plug something specifically for our architecture students before we jump into our Q&A, as promised. So our architecture students are with us for 5 years. And so their design is a little bit different in how they pursue their semester away opportunities because they have study abroad as built into their curriculum. And they're doing design portfolios in architecture specifically. So the 5-year program for them looks a little different, meaning they're here with us 1 additional year, but they also have the experiential learning requirement. Depending on what path they choose to take is when they will fulfill that requirement. So the goal is really to know that all students, no matter your major, you have an experiential learning requirement, and the goal is for you all to work with us to determine if that lands you in the fall or the spring away, or if it's something that is happening in the summer where we have to make sure that you're able to take that opportunity. Okay, and so I want to jump us into some Q&A for about 15 minutes, and we have a lovely reception for you all. So we have a runner with a mic, and I'm pretty sure you have questions brewing, right, after so much information. Hopefully you all were taking a few notes. And so let's start with up here. She's coming. That's our assistant director, Shayna Hill, everybody. You guys met her out at the front. She's going to get her steps in today. Thank you, Shayna. Okay,
Hello.
Go ahead. Hi.
So for students that are in the Excel program,
Yes.
so they would be taking the Arch Summer after their freshman year. I noticed one of the slides had
Yes,
early
early
Arch
Arch.
Summer.
Right.
Could you kind of talk about that and for a freshman student who's considering Excel, what they would need to do for that?
Yes, absolutely. So what he's referring to is our slide where we have a designation for early Arch students. And so all of our students in early Arch and Excel Plus, they usually come into Rensselaer with some AP credits, a larger load, which means they are accelerated beyond the traditional first year credits. And so what we provide for them is the opportunity to do their summer term after their first year, and they have really ultimate flexibility to take their away term anytime after that first year. in summer on campus. So it kind of frees them up because they'll actually be graduating earlier, and so they kind of get their requirements out of the way earlier. The only difference I'd say is depending upon the student's major and what they're pursuing. A lot of our Excel students want to go into a co-term program, and you need 90 credits to do that. So co-term is where a student finishes their bachelor's and they stay with RPI for the additional year and get their master's. So any student that is accelerated, I would encourage you now, and we actually can pull those lists for the different schools. And so is your student in what school?
Science.
Perfect. So our Science Hub, led by Chad Christensen, he's the Science Hub manager. We have a session that happens for each school to talk about early Excel applications. Everything for the Art Summer will open in January, and so any student that is accelerated that is a first-year student can actually go ahead and apply. They'll end up meeting with their academic advisor to kind of match up their courses to see what will be the rest of their trajectory if they do their Art Summer early. So the goal is really for the student to identify, yes, I'm accelerated, I have enough credits, right, to be beyond the first year, or the first semester, and I'm looking to do that. Typically, a student is entering with 20 to 32 AP credits, somewhere around there, 15 to 20. And so we kind of give them the option to go ahead and be accelerated in that facet. But I would say for your student in January, those sessions are going to start, and then they can submit their application the entire spring term, and then make their plan for summer and for their semester away. Okay, there was a question right down here. Well, we have a live stream, so we want to make sure you're picked up on there.
Hi. My question is the self-design.
Yes.
That seemed a little like, obviously it's customized.
Yes.
So, and that was under a different, I guess, school. It seemed like it was not under the CCPD, but it would be considered something like a work program where they're actually getting experience in a company or a corporation and not a university?
So the self-design opportunity, in the nutshell, is self-designed with the student and whomever they are working with. So what you're seeing is a flexibility among the kind of self-design experience. And it's in the Office of Undergraduate Education because most of the students who pursue self-design actually are working on their own project. So a lot of our students who are in IED, for example, where they're working on an engineering project in class, want to continue that for their away term. And they could have been working on a startup or a tech company in downtown Troy. So the idea is to give them the semester to create a plan. They submit that plan to undergraduate education that has their milestones, what the outcomes will be, who's the faculty they're working with, right? So it's not something like free-for-all. it's more what's the structure? We have great examples on the Arch website of what students have done in the past. And one of the good things about it is we're trying not to limit students. So if you're familiar, our Lally School has the Severino Center, where we're doing a lot of innovation, entrepreneurship, patents, for instance. And so the goal is really to give the student the room to create their experience, but also have it connected to a faculty member at the institution. So the reason why it doesn't have as many guardrails and is not particularly in career services, most of our career experiences that are internships and co-ops are paid. When you do self-design, you're kind of working for yourself. And it may not be a paid opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Let's see. Ooh, it kind of pinged. Let's go here because you're closer. And then we're going to come over here to the ladies over here, okay? Yes.
Thank you. If an opportunity for an internship comes up in the summer, is there an exception, or is there a process, or is it just the same?
Yes, that's a great question. So what we have developed is what is going to be the student's pathway. So in the summer, we have created that particular opportunity. So our Career Center will have students that will apply to have their away term in the summer. So we absolutely have that option available. And we actually have kind of lifted a lot of those former restrictions pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, we've seen a lot more companies trying to get back on the ground floor, trying to get back, to filling positions. So there's a much wider range of what students can do. So all your student has to do, let's say they say, Mom, Dad, I have an opportunity. They come to you in March and they're like, I have something for summer that I really want to take advantage of. Have them fill out the career-related pathway for the summer, right? They'll fill that out. The Career Center is going to review it. They'll provide their offer letter. They'll provide their supervisor information, and then they'll be registered for that experience for the summer. Yeah, so the goal is really to make sure that they have something secured. You can't just work in grandpa's garage, okay? It actually has to be a disciplinary, major adjacent, riveting opportunity in the summer that we can make sure you can sell that when it's time to graduate. But absolutely, we've had an uptick in the number of students that would like to pursue the opportunity in the summer, but it's producing a lot of proactivity now that we're post-pandemic. Absolutely. And our ladies over here, we had two. Yes. In the front? I'll be loud. No. Microphone, because we have the live stream. We may have some parents online there. Yes.
Thank you. So
Yes.
If your sophomore son hasn't found career services yet,
Yes.
and
No pressure.
I feel a lot better in that response, and potentially coming out of COVID, didn't have a lot of work experience.
Yes.
As a 16, 17-year-old, how can we motivate them
Good
to
question.
get to the career services office? And then lastly, is it that they're looking for internships when you go to the sites, or jobs?
Yes, so that's two clarifying questions. The first piece I would say is how to get them motivated. So the first thing is your student already has a very, very robust schedule. They have classes. And that takes up a lot of their time. So I think the first conversation is looking for them to identify, when do I actually have a window throughout the week to do other things? Because if they're a sophomore, they've only had a year of really trying to dig into their studies. So the first question is identifying, where do I have moments throughout the day? I need to eat lunch. You'd be surprised how many of our RPI students don't do breakfast, okay? Eat something, and then make a trip over to the Career Center. The second piece is some of our students are a bit more introverted, and it's more so, I need someone to kind of help, draw me in. And so we can have your student set up with a career counselor and get it scheduled. So that would just be an email to the arch@rpi.edu. I need my sophomore to get into high gear. Please get him, scheduled in the Career Center, and we will first look at what's his major. Then we'll give him over to his school counselor in the Career Center. So the second part of your question, remind me again.
If they don't have job experience.
Yes. So when they go on the website, your question was about whether it was an internship or just jobs. Go more general. I was sharing with one of our students earlier that you want to stay open. So if you're a chemistry major, or if you are a physics major, or if you are an aeronautical engineering major, or if you're a Haas major, you want to stay open. So when you go to the website, when they go on Handshake, they're going to have little things that they can check off about the kind of experience they want to do. Make sure they check as much as possible, because if you limit that, you're going to limit your options of what opportunities are available. So when you go on the Arch website, just look for your student's school, and then look for the opportunities that will be adjacent to that. And then kind of have conversations, well, what kind of experience do you want? Do you want to be in a lab? Do you want to be in industry? Because if your student is going in industry, they're going to be treated like a colleague, like an employee, okay? They're clocking in, correct, Jaden? Okay, you are actually working like we do. So the idea is to kind of get them ready for those soft skills and know how to send a proper email. Know, as Jaden said, I need work with my cover letter. What sorts of vernacular should I be using to ensure that Amazon knows I know what I'm doing, right? Why am I marketable to them just as much as they want to work with an RPI student? Does that answer it? Okay, one behind you, go ahead. We have about 4 more minutes. I probably can do like 2 more. Okay.
So my question is, during the 2 semesters in junior year, is there an opportunity to do the required internship co-op, et cetera, and still be able to do an international semester abroad, both in 1 year? So for example, if the internship is in California, fine, that's checked off, and then the student decides they want to do study abroad in Italy in the spring or whatever. Is that?
Yeah, so what they would do specifically, they would do what's called an affiliated study abroad. And so RPI has a whole on international programs. if you link from the Arch page to international programs, you're going to see all of the affiliated countries, and they can choose from any of those. So what will happen is their financial aid will go toward that country for in-school study, right? And then when they're at their internship in California, there is no tuition. So they'll be paying the tuition to the study abroad experience in the fall, right? And let's say your kid is a spring away, they'll go to the spring in California. So they could do Italy and California. Considering finances are great, you know, but they could do both. And most of the internships and co-ops that students receive are paid. And a lot of the students who go to like Silicon Valley, for instance, because California is not cheap, right? So they usually work with a company who is subsidizing the housing portion or the transportation portion or both. Yes, but that is actually an option, and that's very individualized, which is the good thing. So your student would need to just be connected to the Career Center for Internship and International Study for the spring away.
So he could use his internship money to pay for the...
Yeah, most of our students who go on an internship in the spring of their junior year, that's how they pay for their off-campus housing in their senior year, which is another interesting thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can do... Oh, go ahead, Marty.
I just want to add a comment real quick on study abroad for the away experience. If you want a non-affiliated study abroad, you can still receive some financial aid, but that focuses only on the federal aid because it's not classes through Rensselaer. And there's some other things the school they go to has to be affiliated to do federal aid as well. But if that's an issue, I would say study abroad during the away semester is great. The affiliated aligns the billing up to make more sense to your RPI experience. But don't kind of think that the affiliated is the only option for meeting the away experience requirement.
Absolutely. Okay, we have time for two more. Let's do two more. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so my question is what percentage, well, it's actually two questions,
Yeah.
but what percentage of students are away in the fall and what percentage are away in the spring?
Okay.
And then when do they need to have their internship locked down so they have classes and housing in the fall if they haven't have something by then?
Yes. So trajectory, or well, let's just say benchmarking from year to year in the past 5 years. Majority of our students, let's say 60% in the spring, 40% in the fall. So most of our students enjoy the spring away because it's from January all the way through to like August. So there's much more time to be away. So that's the percentage breakdown in terms of away terms for each cohort. The second piece is if a student is planning to do an internship, you said in the fall or summer, when?
Even like let's say they're scrambling, so they have to have it before
Yes.
for the fall, or do they have
Right. So it really is on the employer's timeline. So if the student is going away in the fall and they actually secure something for the summer, and it's up to us to help them get to do it in the summer, we just switch their away term. So if your student is trying to be away in the fall, they need to secure something by August. That's when the fall starts. So we have something in the academic calendar called the add deadline. That's the last time that a student can add a class to their semester courses. So just stick to that for fall, spring, and for summer, the add deadline. And as long as your student gets it by that time period in that term, they should be good to go. Yeah, and I think we had one more. Right here. Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead, Shayna. She's right here. Raise your hand. Hi, ma'am. Yes, yes. That would be our last one. 6-1.
I just had a question about how the housing works on the
Yes.
semester away. Is that something that the department helps the student find housing, or is that like the responsibility of the student to
So we have
secure that?
two resources primarily that we give to students. So the first one is with the Career Center. Any student that is going to hubs that we already have had semester away students in, they will be connected to those hubs. Meaning, if your student is going to be in the Boston area, we have a lot of students who are in that area and have had housing opportunities that they'll be linked to. The second resource is our off-campus commons, which we have an associate dean of off-campus commons that actually helps our students with leasing for 6 months, 12 months, whether it's on campus or if they're needing housing for their away term. Now, the student will be responsible for covering any of those expenses, but if they're working with a partner for their experience that is paying them, then that can go toward that. But they will be responsible for it on their away term. And if they are here with us on campus, they'll live on campus. And in their junior year, they don't have the requirement after that. So during the away term, they are required to make sure their housing is covered. Yes, okay. So I know that we have parents that had other questions. about planning for the arch term or the summer or the semester away. I really want to encourage you all to reach out to us at thearch.rpi.edu. It's going to come straight to my office, okay? To my office, and we are going to field it out to either the CCPD, to our faculty, to our financial aid office, wherever it needs to go to get the answers that you need for your student. But as you can hear from some of the questions in the audience, there's a lot of specificity for what each student would like to do. So I hope that this gets your wheels turning, students, and your parents can kind of help guide you on where you'd like to go. Because when your sophomore year ends, it's time to kick it into external facing opportunities. We are trying to get you into industries, into labs, into opportunities. So once you start that, you'll be good to go, okay? So we have a lovely reception for you all right outside these doors and in the first floor atrium. It's been a pleasure. Please thank our panelists for being with us. Woo! And we'll stick around for a few more moments, but you all are welcome to join us in the foyer for receptions and refreshment.